Hello everyone, you're very welcome. It's great to see you here this evening. Just a few housekeeping things before we get going. Just to let you know, because this is a free event, John has kindly agreed that it's going to be recorded. So if you're talking, just be aware of that, because you might hear yourself on a recording later today. Also, the plan is that the presentation will last about an hour, and then something like 20 minutes for questions, because I know some people are parking outside and just want to know that. And we do appreciate some of you might have to nip out to check the meter as well. But because we are a small group, I think John, you were saying you play it by ear as well.
That's right, yeah. I'll probably even leave more for questions, and then we'll see how we get on.
The issue of the meter, how you mentioned it, I take it it's up to 7 o'clock out there.
Some of them are 24 hours. Like Michelle, somebody was saying you put money until 10 to 8.
It's different parts of the street.
We're wondering maybe some of them won't let you put the money after 7 because they only got to 7. But if you need to check, we do appreciate that. Before we get going as well, just to tell you about some other events that are coming up. The Coaching Psychology Group have an AGM on Saturday, and everyone is welcome to that come to that. And then the next event for the Coaching Psychology Group is the 16th of June. It's a Saturday masterclass half day, and the event is Mindfulness for Coaches. And it's Michael Shastelin, who's come over, very well known in this area, who's coming over from the UK. The next CWOP event, I think it's the 13th of June, it's only organised the other day, and I think this is a free one as well. Savile Consulting is coming over from the UK. I think on the evening, I think it's up on the website from today, but I think it's 13th in the evening he's doing a presentation, and then has a free conversion course all in this building the day after. The CPG event I mentioned are actually going to be at UCD. So you can have a look up on the website. PSI website, don't you there?
What do you mean by conversion?
Conversion, if you've got what we call level 8 training, like, if you're trained in using tests from a test provider, for example, SHL, if you want to use several tests, you just need to do a conversion course.
Oh, I see.
And that's in June.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's only organised the other day. Yeah. Okay, so I would just like to welcome John Costello here this evening. John is co-founder of a company called Careergro.
Careergro.
Careergro. And it's going to talk to us this evening on career development from the business. So thank you very much.
Okay, lovely. Thanks for the introduction. Hello everybody, and thank you very much for turning out tonight with the lovely weather outside. I wondered would we get an audience, and I really appreciate you guys turning up. So as advertised, I am going to talk a bit about career development from the bottom up. I'm actually going to start off by saying a little bit about my own career and how I got to what I'm doing today, from my starting point, which was as an engineer, an electronic engineer. And then I'd like to discuss a little bit about where career development fits with talent management and also performance management. And then discuss a little bit about Careergro and a new way to support employees to take control of their own career development and take responsibility for that. I probably used the word discuss or discussion a few times, I think, already, and we're a small group, so I'd really appreciate that if we do get some discussion going, that would be great. I think my slides and what I'm going to say probably runs for about maybe 35 or 40 minutes, and so we should have plenty of time, and if we run out of things to say to each other, it's a lovely evening outside. It's a win-win, I think. So, as I said already, I started my career as an engineer. I spent about 10 years designing these ICs and working with schematics and so forth like that. I worked for a Japanese company, and I was based in Dublin designing ICs for mobile phones for a long number of years. At a certain point, I think I probably felt, even though there was more room for growing in the role, I probably felt I wasn't necessarily getting challenged in the way I would have liked to by continuing down that route. And so I was searching around for something else to do. And I didn't have a very good idea about what to do, so I went back to college again by night, and I studied technology management, and that was a part-time course, so Friday evening, Saturday mornings, and that's me there in the back. And you can see, I think that's a Saturday morning because it's bright outside, and for some reason we're all smiling. But while I was there, I got exposed to organizational behavior and organizational design. I spoke with Eunice outside about Tom Allen's work in that area, and he was the director of that program. Yeah. So I guess that kind of piqued my interest in the activity that I'm now engaged in. And just to round out the picture a little bit more, that's a photo of me kayaking on my holidays in Norway. And I just throw that in because I think it's interesting sometimes to look outside of your work and the experiences you have there, in particular to do with your development. I think from doing this activity, I probably learned more about teamwork and leadership skills than I ever did in a company environment. And it's something we're trying to do with Career Gro as well, is look at the kind of whole person and try to help them develop and bring in their skills that they might have from outside of the work environment. So how I got to where from that being an engineer to being involved in career development. So they didn't get us to dress up in fancy dress costumes, but in 2009 the company I worked with closed down, and everybody was made redundant. And they were a very good company actually. They spent a lot of money on the outplacement, so we got some very good coaching through that. I'd actually already decided I was going to hook up with a guy from my class in Smurfit and set a company up to help with decision making, so software for decision support. But that's kind of as far as we had gone with it. We didn't really know what market or what type of decisions or anything like that. And what I saw from the outplacement was that the coaching was great, but people, and myself and my colleagues, I noticed, tended to, let's say the effect tended to wear off fairly quickly when the coaches weren't around anymore. So it went well for a few months, and then when I followed up with people afterwards, they had kind of gone back to whatever their original kind of plans were. And so I also saw that a lot of the activities that we did with the coaches were really insightful and very good, but didn't necessarily come together in a way. So we did a bunch of discrete things, but it was hard to kind of remember each bit and see how it all fitted together to help us make decisions. So that's an area that we thought there might be an opportunity there to do something around. We also thought that it's great that they're spending all this money on us and giving us this great career development coaching, but wouldn't it have been great to have spent all that money years ago while we were still working for the company, instead of when they were showing us the door? And so we tried to bring those things together then. So we looked at the coaching tools and coaching approach, decision analysis, and technology. And really, the aim is to provide a career development approach and tools for people to use on an ongoing basis while they're in an organisation. And so we're not really too focused on people when they reach the kind of a crisis point, or when they're having an outplacement, or when they're, those big decisions. They can still use the tool at those times, but really what we're looking at is the ongoing, continuous career development. So you could say, we decided that we were going to do that, and we set out our plan, and we kind of progressed linearly since then. But actually, we were a bit more like these guys, lost in the mist, and especially because none of us had a background in anything to do with this area. But our approach has been to develop small things and go out and test them with actual employees who are the target of the application, and to refine what we're doing based on their needs and their feedback. So we're not really developing a tool with a view on the needs of the company as the first priority. It's the needs of an individual employee, and we've been developing kind of incrementally in that way ever since. We started out when we were probably at us. I think the fog is always there to some extent, but we looked at these trends that we could see in the environment. So things like obviously flat organisations are given in a lot of places, and you could say the career ladder is maybe something that isn't what it used to be. People talk at Deloitte have this career lattice concept, where you're navigating your way through multiple different roles, and maybe not moving up the hierarchy but moving laterally around. Social learning is something that is a trend in the corporate world as well, and mentoring, and this one here, consumerization, is interesting too. It's something you see more and more, where years ago the IT department would specify all of the equipment that everyone would use. These days, people want to bring their iPad into work, and the same way they want to use software that they like and they want to use, and bring that into the environment. So all of those things went into the mix, and to put some sort of framework on it, we started to look at it like this: that it's one of the drivers is the rate of change in the environment out there is one of the things that is making organisations more flat, more knowledge workers, and this shift from the ladder to lattice. And then if you've got knowledge workers, they're the motivational drives are maybe different from for this type of activity. It's more about intrinsic motivation and having a good fit between your activity that you're doing in your career and your own values and abilities. So there's also the CIPD will talk about the new psychological contract, where instead of the employer offering a job for life, they're offering employability, and so career development becomes an important thing in that environment. Okay, so this is possibly one of the main points, I think, that was advertised on the front page. So talking about performance management and career development, and top down and bottom up. I guess it's a bit of an oversimplification, but you could say that the carrot and stick approach of offering people, bonuses and performance, pay for performance, is one way that organisations control performance or try to incentivize performance. And another way is alignment between the needs of the individual and the mission of the business, and also at the level of the role that the fit an individual has with the role they're doing, means that they're challenged sufficiently, and they're maybe in flow in that job. And that so this statement here, that knowledge workers who are intrinsically motivated by their work and feel a sense of shared purpose with the mission of the organisation, have some autonomy over their activity, and are also continually developing and achieving mastery in their role, will be high performers, and the organisation with these people will also succeed. So I'm possibly doing something very vague there. I'm quoting myself. That's from a blog that I wrote. Probably more likely I'm just being a bit lazy and reusing it. But it's definitely something that more and more people are thinking this way and talking this way, and I think it would be very interesting to hear the views of this group, because I guess none of this is new to you guys, and it's not new either in organisations, but it's maybe becoming more widespread as more and more activity is that type of knowledge worker activity. I mentioned the psychological contract, and so I guess in the past the employer would offer an employee a job for life in return for their loyalty and their performance and their work, and that's really gone out the window in most cases, and I think it's explicit now in a lot of organisations that they want employability, so they want their people to be employable, so that they are so that they're sure that they have people at the top of their game, and it's the best way to retain people as well, by ensuring that they're employable. So that's another driver, I think, for career development. This framework here is from A&D, a consultancy company, and they talk about career engagement as opposed to career development. So whereas they would say that career development is something that is done to employees, and it's maybe a top-down thing, and the responsibility is on the organisation. Now that's just depends on how you phrase it or how you interpret it. That's the way they interpret it. And they talk about career engagement, which is more collaborative and aligned with both the individual and the organisational goals. So it's about what an individual can do for the organisation, whilst also developing themselves and their career opportunities. And so that you can see that on this diagram here. Individuals' career focus and mindset, so people accepting that's their responsibility for managing their career is important, and then for the organisation to provide a supportive and engaging environment for that, so to provide the framework and support people in their career development leads to career engagement, and then the individual and the organisation are reaping the benefits. so that this is the final kind of a model like that I'll throw up. I said I'd talk about a talent management framework, and here's that box ticked. But this is Burson's talent management framework, and so you can see, they've got everything in there. It's pretty comprehensive. Workforce planning and talent acquisition, succession management, performance management, and total rewards, etc. So I guess the thing that strikes me when you look at that is one of the only things that I could pick out of that, which is the responsibility of the individual employee, is career management, and the rest of those things are the responsibility of the organisation, and they're managed by the organisation. Of course, the organisation has a key role for career management as well, but the employee or the individual has a big responsibility there. And when we did some research about, not our own research, but when we looked at the research out there about the activities that people in HR spend their time on, we were interested to see, was career development one of the things people were interested in, and we were hoping it would be, but we found out that it wasn't really. Actually, it was. We found a few studies, and on most of them, however long their list went, career development was pretty much always at the bottom of the list in terms of the things, in particular, people in HR allocate their time to. And when you dig in behind the research, what came out is that the reason is it's just hard. Actually, it's something that is the responsibility of an individual. It's almost impossible for an organisation to go around and micromanage everybody's career for them, and to do that. So, by and large, there's a tendency to maybe just push it to one side. But not all organisations. A lot of the probably the best places to work and the high performing organisations do have a strong focus on career development. So I think I tried to talk about some of the underlying reasons why career development would be important for organisations, and this is information from Towers Watson, and this is probably more the kind of output focused reasons as to why it's important. So attraction of talent, retention of good people, and employee engagement are all things that businesses accept are correlated with performance or cost saving, and so they're tangible things that organisations get the business case for doing. And so career development is number two in terms of the retention drivers, and in terms of employee engagement, it's coming out number 4 on the list. An interesting thing is when you look at the 3 that are above it: leadership, empowerment, and image. They're probably all quite long-term projects, to tackle those things, whereas career development might be something that's easier to do something about. So I think I'm probably 2/3 of the way through now, and the final part of the talk is just going to be a bit of a description about what we're doing in Careergro. So let's see. What we're saying is that we're providing online career development that works, and you can see 2 scenarios here. On the scenario on the left, it's showing a typical case of career development in an organisation. So it's something that happens once a year at annual review time, and we're trying to make that a year-round process that's let's say a living process for the organisation and the employees, to move from last-minute form filling to people being informed about what they're doing around their career development and having reflected on it, not just putting it in form at the last minute. We want to improve the quality of career conversations between line managers and employees and peers as well, and to move away from a focus on that career development is about training courses, and more a broader view that career development is about a range of things, including on-the-job training, working with a mentor, networking, going to events like this tonight, and also including training too. And then to really provide a way to enable employees to make use of their responsibility for managing their own career, and to make that a feasible thing for them to do. Okay, the fonts have got a bit small here, but we've got 3 parts in the tool, and I'll maybe show you the tool actually in a moment. The first part is we have a suite of assessment tools. They're all self-assessment tools, so we don't have any thing like a Myers-Briggs or anything like that in there. We've got a values assessment tool, skills assessment tool, and we've got like an environmental analysis around your industry, your company, your home life, and so forth. So looking at the things that might affect your decisions around your career. And they're the 3 kind of basic assessments, and we have a bunch of other ones as well, which are available to people if they want to use them. The purpose of the assessments is to help people think about what they want to do for their learning and development and their career development, and to help them be more informed about that, and to be able to discuss it with their managers and people in their organisation. Then we have a development plan, which is an online tool. Again, your development plan has got dates in it. If you put reminders in, you'll get emails if you're late on stuff. For each thing you put in, you decide who is it visible to. So you could share it with your manager only. You could have it private. You could have it shared with your team or with everyone in your organisation. So it's about socialising your development goals, and then finally in the feed here, whenever you achieve something or you do something from your development plan, it goes into the feed, which is a bit like a Facebook feed or something, and so the people who you have said have the authority to view that. So you control the privacy of that, but the people who you have allowed to see it will get it that appearing in their feed, saying, John did this, read this book, or went on this course, or whatever. So it's largely activity driven. You can also give people thanks, or record achievements, or ask questions, or seek help, or give help, or have discussions around things in your career development. Okay, so unless everybody has seen this, we have a 2-minute video. I might take a rest and just play this for 2 minutes, and then we can either have some questions maybe, and we can have a look into the tool then as well, if people want to do that.
This is Tom. Tom works at Knowledge Incorporated. He works hard and would like to progress, but day-to-day tasks keep him busy, and leave little time for managing his career. Sarah is the manager of Tom's team. She knows that it's her responsibility to support the development of the team members, but they are all so busy that it is hard to find the time to talk about it. Neither Tom nor Sarah enjoy the annual review. Tom thinks that Sarah asks the same old questions, and Sarah thinks that Tom gives the same old answers. Business as usual. Careergro provides a better way. Careergro assessment tools enable Tom to discover his workplace preferences and to develop realistic personal career goals and objectives. Sharing is easy with Careergro. Tom and the team can share plans and give each other thanks. As Tom's manager, Sarah can track his progress in real time and is better able to support him. Tom has a new sense of purpose since he took control of his career, and he's adding more value to the company. Sarah used to feel that she was enforcing career development, but now she's supporting it. The team and the whole organisation are performing at a different level. Sign up to Careergro today for free and take control of your career.
Okay, so very good. So I think that's all the one-way communication over with for the evening. If anyone has any questions, I'd be delighted to hear them, and maybe if anyone has a better answer than me to any of the questions, chime in also. We can also go in and have a look at if anyone wants to look at any specific details in the tool. I think there's time for that also if people want to. I wonder. Maybe I could ask a question from you guys. Does anyone see scenarios where an approach like this would work or wouldn't work in organisations that you're familiar with?
Developing from that is actually a question that I had. It's just I'm currently working with a number of people who are very frustrated in their jobs because of the fact that they haven't had annual reviews for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the answer that the employer keeps giving them is because of the recession, he can't give pay rises. So he immediately associates the annual review with a pay rise situation. So I'm just wondering if somebody, say, is working in an organisation that perhaps where they're not getting that sort of career development support, is that a tool that an individual employee can use on their own, like as an individual, without an organisation support, have to come?
No, they can use it. Anyone can just sign up, and it's and it's free. Actually, there's no charge. Actually, even an organisation up to 50 people can use the tool for free. That individual, for example, might do that, and then they might actually get somebody else from outside whose opinion they value to join them and review what they're doing with them, and so yes, they could.
Hi John, thanks very much for your very comprehensive talk about career growth. I was just thinking first about the word career.
Yeah.
And you said, of course, the classical model was the linear model, like we to go step by step and so on. But I think what you're saying nowadays, given that these step by steps are mature, and we'll be looking at some of those ideas in the sense of that, and the knowledge worker that you're talking about, that nowadays you have to think, and they have to think again, what's opening up now is the non-linear model.
Yeah.
Because the old model was the linear model and the non-linear model. And it's some work I'm doing with women and work and trying to move up that ladder. I was there into management or that kind of thing, but because of I had to leave, you know, at certain point because of childcare and so on and so forth, their model is non-linear anyway, you know, so they have been working with that kind of non-linear model, and there are things to learn from that, you know. That's just one thing I think that is interesting, and what you're opening up ways for people to think themselves about what kind of a scene are they in, what kind of model, because if you're going off in the non-linear route, I might learn to polish that floor over there, which is very good for my progress, as they say, but it's off the beam from that angle, that linear thing there, but you're adding a new skill that you didn't have before to your business, and that question of the skills that you're adding on and the competencies and so on and so forth seems to me very important for people through your test to understand that and so on. Because organisations might listen to you and say, this cotton the old model with, and Ian and I have been doing some work with major hospitals, didn't have any formal review either. You know, all the people were dying to know where this, but they never had it. They only had that informal, you know, down at the Xerox machine or something.
And do you think, let's say having the performance review, which is around pay and bonuses, should that happen at the same time as having your discussion around your career development, or should it be a separate discussion at a different time of the year? I'd be interested to know what you guys think. You probably have good experience in the room here.
I think it can be a bit a high expectation to expect separate discussions to happen. Certainly where I work, we do quarterly reviews. So if we were to add career development as a separate conversation on top of that, that would be a long meeting. And they're just informal feedback. So that wouldn't be feasible. And I think you'd lose the support of people if they felt like they were in both stories.
And at those quarterly ones, you're covering both aspects. I know, like organisation I worked in, they used to keep them separate, and but it wasn't as frequent, and so. But I think more frequent is probably better, actually. A client of ours, we'll see how that works out, but their ambition is to have monthly reviews about career development, but the idea is to have them very light and informed by activity on the tool, so that it might be just you have a 5-minute catch-up, but so more a continuous and informal thing rather than infrequent and maybe more formal. Which organisation do you work for? Or is this, oh, sorry. Okay,
Hi, John. How are you? What's the catch, John, when you get all of this for free? When you log in?
Well,
what happens next?
No, there's no catch. There's no advertising. We don't do anything with your data or anything like that. It's just two benefits we get from it. We learn more users we have, and the feedback we get from users helps us to improve the product. And our market really is to sell to corporations, not to individuals. So for a tool like this, we don't see the business model as viable to sell it to individuals, and the cost is pretty much zero. So the cost on something like this is all around the development. Once it's developed, the incremental cost of another user is very small. So for us, it makes sense to give it for free to individuals and small organisations, because we couldn't sell to those either.
Sorry, does that mean you access the information?
No, we don't.
That's provided there.
We don't. No, but we get feedback from.
You get feedback. There was a line to get feedback.
And we also, for example, I'm doing a thing with a group of about 30 people out in NUIN in the news at the moment, and so they're all using the product for free, but they've agreed to have a focus group with the people that are participating and that are using that. So that'll be great, a way of getting feedback on the product.
Really interesting product. Thanks, John.
Where's the data stored on?
Yeah, so it's a cloud service, and we're using a cloud provider called Ovi. They're the second biggest cloud provider in Europe, and their servers are in France, and so we don't hold the data, and in the same way as your Gmail or any of those other services are hosted in the cloud.
Well, it's still protected, like.
Of course, yeah.
You can only access your own data unless you share that feed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the networks, it's a little bit different to other networking tools. It's not like a social networking tool like Facebook or something like that, whereby you're in there with everybody else. If you're in a company, you're only in there with the other people in that company, and people only, let's say the assessments are always private. There's no facility to share those, even if you want to. And the things in your development plan are shared with the people whom you choose to share with, but it's fully under the control of the user. So there's no, they have full control over their privacy. They can set it up so nobody ever sees anything about them.
And if they chose to delete that at any stage, is that possible to delete your own data off?
You'd have to contact us to get your data deleted. Yeah.
Do you think that it's fully developed now, or have you got plans to have things made?
Yeah, I'd say we'll always be developing it, actually, because the needs of people will change even over time. But the things we're currently, let's say in the short term that we have on our roadmap are profiles, so very much like a kind of a LinkedIn profiles. You're thinking about all this stuff about your career, and it's probably a good time when you're doing that to create a profile. So that would be something that would be internal within an organization. So today I was out with a company, and that's a thing they were very interested in, because they said they've no real way of leveraging all the knowledge and expertise that individuals have if they want to ask somebody who's an expert in Java programming or something. There's no easy way to find out who those people are. And a competency framework model is another thing we're putting in. And with that, what we want to do is, if you've got with a 360 assessment as well, but let's say there's a particular competency which you need further development in, that you would be recommended names of people in your organization who are at a higher level of competency in that thing, and who have agreed to allow them to be contacted to mentors. So rather than having a mentor for your career, you'd have a mentor just on a item by item basis. It might be that it might just last an hour, or it might go on for a few weeks or something. But those are two of the things we're doing at the moment.
Sharon, you?
Yeah. Thanks very much, John. I really enjoyed your presentation. I'm just, if you accessed it as an individual, does that mean that if you change organisation, or if you work with different organisations, you can enrol those people across?
So if you just signed up now as an individual, you'd be in there on your own. Essentially, you wouldn't have anyone else in your network. If you can then claim a network, and so you could call that for your own organisation, and then you can invite other people in to join you. If you're working in an organisation and then you leave, you get taken out of that network, and you can then go back to being an individual user on your own. And if you join a new organisation, you can then kind of go into that new goes with you. So the data follows the user around. But if you're in multiple organisations at the same time, we don't support that at the moment. Was that maybe what you were asking about?
Yeah.
We haven't actually had anyone ask for that before. Are you thinking if you're a consultant and you're working with
even different clients?
Yeah, you could have different accounts. Would be one way to do it. And if you had clients of yours, you could invite them all to join your network. If they were individual clients, if they were companies, they would have their networks, and you could join each of those separately.
And you mentioned you mentioned feedback. I mean, what type of feedback have you had? I'm just interested because when you said the traditional approach is the annual the annual review, and it being a paper filling out exercise that tends to become mature and. So I mean, what makes a difference? What feedback have you had, and what do you think really makes a difference?
So a few things. One is where this has been employed, it's been done on a voluntary basis, so it's offered to individuals as something that they can use, not something that they have to use to help them with their career development. And so we've seen maybe around a 40% uptake. And what we also then see is that within teams there tends to be different levels of activity. So I guess if there's one or two people who are quite active, then the other people around them tend to become a bit more active as well, because so the whole thing of having the goals socialized, if you like to call it that, meaning that if we're in a team together and you're doing things, and you putting up, I read this book and I went to this event, and I get an email periodically saying this is what's going on in your team, and I might just think, oh well, I haven't really been doing anything about my career development, and look at what all the other people are doing. So that tends to draw people in a little bit. So it's not just making it social and making everyone aware what you're up to. So then if you get a few people that are proactive, it tends to kind of grow a little bit out from those.
I was just wondering, so if you have a manager in an organisation, can they see individuals? There's a hierarchy of kind of structure there in the way it's organised.
Not so much. I can very quickly show you. I'm going to log in as. Log in as the guy from the video. So if I look in here, I can see my team colleagues and my manager, and I can look in at my manager and see I can see my manager's development plan here, and I can see the things that are in his feed, and I can look at people in my team as well, and I can look in and see what their development objectives are too. So the way the hierarchy works is that the individual decides what they're sharing. So Jared has things in his development plan, but he's not sharing any of them with me. So I can't see what he's got in there. But he might well be sharing them with Kevin, and he's more likely to be sharing them with Kevin because Kevin's his manager, and it might make more sense for some things that he shares them with him at least. I just share everything with everybody, and so they can all look in and see fully what my stuff is. So
it's transparent as you want.
It's as transparent as you want it to be, but the manager doesn't get any automatic right to see stuff that just because they're the manager. No, it's really up to the individual to decide for themselves, what gets shared. And this is what the feed looks like here. So I have in here about the DWAP event, and so I put some thoughts in. This is a little while ago about we're working with this guy John Ingham, and he put a blog post together, and to help me organise my thoughts for today, and I put that post up, and the other guys didn't respond on here, but they came up to me and we had a chat about it offline. Let's see. Kevin put in an achievement, opened an office in London. I put in this, completed this development action, inbound marketing fundamentals. So that was some development thing I did, and Kevin liked it. So that's kind of what the feed looks like. It's a kind of a record of what your development is and what you've been doing, and just an awareness then of what everyone else is doing.
Quite similar to social LinkedIn. I'm not too afraid, but where you can just be reading something and then just think remark.
That's
so
right.
It suits the new generation as well.
Yeah, I mean, we found that when we looked at the usage by age, so we can do those kind of statistics on it, and it was kind of like a bell curve, which we didn't look into deeply into it, but we guessed that it's just reflecting that the age and workforce is kind of like a bell curve as well, so that there wasn't any more or less uptake from younger or older users.
Can I ask a question, John? The activity of development feeds for individuals, can you get that in a particular format? Or I'm just thinking, say, for CPD, for professional registration, that I put on a big huge Word document, and it's quite cumbersome if it's long, and tables and boxes and everything. But I'm just wondering if there's a tool like that you could update as you went along.
Yeah. So I'll just show you this is my development plan here, and so these are the things I've done, and the ones above it are the things that I'm doing, and you can save that as a PDF or you can email it. So as you click things off, they go into your feed, and that's for sharing and for letting everyone else know what you're doing. But your kind of permanent record is there as well, and you can PDF that or email that as well if you want to.
Something like that. I'm just even thinking for the PSI, like they get in hard copies of like tools of information for every individual.
Yeah.
Whereas if we had a system like that where like people could just update a template and they could go in electronically and review stuff, like it'd be a lot better for them. Like you're saving paperwork, you're saving you know, it's just
sure.
It'd just be easier to use.
Yeah, well, feel free to give it a go and see if it works for you. You know. Yeah.
Another application that I think is interesting for yourself as well, Michelle, would be if you know you've got a group on a leadership development program or something like that. You could create them as a separate group, because I think it's important when they do development, they development centres or whatever, that they are a peer group that continue to motivate each other and can see what each other are doing in between coming together as a group. And so I suppose the manager would be the person who's the kind of key stakeholder in the leadership program.
Yeah, so there's probably two ways people organise. Let's say one would be probably vertically and typically in teams, and then you could have and groups might be horizontally and have and so we have that here. We're just adding in the groups functionality now, so it'll be very much like LinkedIn groups. So anybody can go and set up a group, and then people can join that, and it could be as you say a bunch of people around a topic or a training course or whatever, and they wouldn't necessarily get all the updates from your development plan going into it, but it would be more a discussion forum. So that would be a place you could discuss those topics of interest. And so we've kind of set those up manually and are up and running in some organisations now. We're just refining the getting that done properly, so that it's kind of pretty much like LinkedIn groups.
Can I just ask, is there a kind of a level of employee? We work a lot with low-skill employees and people who are unemployed, people who are on internships, job bridge or self-employment. And I'm just wondering, particularly in terms of the assessment, is there kind of a minimum level that I suppose standards?
Yeah.
So just thinking for something like internships, it'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Like you'd expect that people would develop competencies. That the whole aim is that people progress and develop their career and have better skills and competencies at the end to access employment.
That's right. And I think internships is an area that I probably think is an interesting one too. We kind of, in terms of not necessarily from the way we designed the product, but in terms of the market we were trying to address, we probably initially thought of people who were at college level of education, but I don't know actually if that's really valid or not. So we haven't done testing so much with other cohorts, but the people who've used it, they're typically working for kind of blue chip companies and so forth, and they typically would be graduates, but a lot of interns would be as well. But I don't know, and I think it would probably just need to be somebody else might be better to answer that question as to if it's applicable to those other groups. So you might. What's your opinion? What do you think?
Yeah, well, we could definitely test it out. We've lots of clients, so we could test out something like that.
Just to show you, I mean, the assessments are fairly simple to use. This is a values assessment. The cards would all be over here when you begin, and then what you do is you drag them around into these different areas, whether it's important or not important or whatever, and then as a second step you take 8 from the very important column, and you so all the very important ones will appear over here, and you drag across the ones that are, your top 8 values, and then you write a little bit about why it's important for you, and some examples of when it is or isn't satisfied in the current role you're in, and maybe you can score it here as well to say, how well satisfied is this particular value currently for me. Just as an example, this one here was being creative and generating ideas, and for me it was an important one. I worked in design and for years, and just probably at the moment in the role I'm in, we're more about putting the brakes on, kind of developing off in mad new directions, and consolidating what we have and incrementally improving it. So I probably frequently come up with big changes of direction we could take, but I have to probably just park those, and that's okay. And doing this actually probably helped me, because I would have been a bit frustrated by that. But now I'm comfortable enough, because I've thought it through. So for me, doing the values assessment was more about understanding the ones that were not a good fit, and then kind of being okay with those.
And who came up with value cards on the left? Do you and your manager come up with those, or are they default?
They're default in the system, but we do work with organisations if they want to customise them. So that can be done.
Where did you get those ones from?
We started out, we worked with some career coaches, and we used some that they had evolved, I think, probably, and I think it was that they just evolved them over time, and then we further evolved them with clients that we were using, because I guess just to make them relevant for the kind of group of people that we were addressing with this tool. So they're not probably a validated set of values, but our aim was just to have a wide enough set to be representative, and so you get on this page here, it's like your summary page. You get all the outputs of all the assessments shown here.
And the interest assessment or the advanced assessment, is there an interest assessment in there?
Yeah, there's interests, learning styles. There's a lifeline, which allows you to plot the things that were high and low over your career, and then to try to identify the ones that were if there are common themes in there about maybe you always worked well when you had a supportive team around you, or maybe when you always worked best when you were on your own, or whatever. There's a limiting beliefs exercise, which is set up around a suitcase, so it's trying to represent the baggage you're carrying around, and just to help prompt people to think about those. And there is one which is interesting, which is about your information network. So often when you talk to people, they'll say that they don't actually have a network, and this is a tool that helps people to first of all map out who's in their existing network, and usually people are surprised when they do that, that it's more extensive than they might have thought. And then to put actions in, if they're thinking about their development, or there are people in there that can help me, can provide information or support, or something like that.
Does it suggest any matching profiles to possible careers, or is it just very much driven by the individual?
It's driven completely by the individual. So we don't have a career inventory or anything like that. So the intention with this primarily is for somebody who's working in a company, and it's primarily what they're doing is they're trying to see how they might better fit their or continue their development, which might in either in that role or in that company. So it might be they're looking for another role in the company, or just developing in their current role, as opposed to somebody who might be an out-and-out placement or job seeking, who might be looking at all their career options and job options. So that's really the main target.
Just on that one, what Sean was saying there is that taking your concept of grow and what you can grow from grow, and a concept we've been talking about here in our group is positive psychology and coaching. And essentially positive psychology is growing, and it's very much about people identifying strengths, and if they can get one strength, and often people that you might have that coming from maybe marginalised background need work with the one job centre, and the big thing was to identify again an interest or a value. And people kind of were amazed because nobody ever said anything positive to them before. And now they're starting on a new avenue. And often you find, taking your review, it didn't happen, is that managers are actually don't want to hear about people's strengths, and they run away from it. The classical organizational system was always negative. If you said, I think if I did that, I could do that, and they don't want to hear that at all. So they're not really. The classical model hasn't been thinking into that.
I know.
For the individual, it's a tremendous boost altogether, and it's just our whole thinking opens up, rather than the classical model is looking at
what are gaps?
What you're doing wrong, instead of what you can do and your strengths, and building on that. So I think the Gro thinking into positive psychology would be a nice way.
And when we look at the skills in our, so we have a skills assessment tool, and it's very much focused on, these are the things that you identify as the skills that we struggled with the term actually, but we didn't want to use your skills you're best at, or but it's the things that you identify as the ones you like using and you're most interested in. So you're good at you let's say you have an interest in them is the first thing, and you either are good at them already or you want to develop in those. But then against your role, against all the skills, we identify your strengths, and the focus is should be really on how you can further develop in those areas. So we have some kind of text around that in the assessment, and that the gaps are identified too, but maybe the thing there is to try to see, if you can minimize the amount of those things that you need to do, or find somebody to work with you on those, as opposed to putting all your development into closing those gaps. Sometimes you will have to close a particular gap if it's critical to your role and it needs attention, but the focus probably should be on the strength, I think.
Thanks very much, John, and thank you for sharing your own personal journey into this work as well. It's very interesting. As you could hear from the questions, I think a number of people can see great applications for this, so thanks very much.
And thank you, everybody.